Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters of video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep. And this is episode 88.
That was a good year. Good vintage.
Before we get into the episode, a couple things to cover. If you'd like to contact us, you can do that via Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, Reddit, or YouTube. All those links you'll find down in the description.
Come talk with us.
Or via email at loretogether@gmail.com or in the Boss Rush Discord.
Yes.
We almost never mention that one.
We have to mention that one because that's actually the one that we respond to the quickest. We keep an eye on that. So join us there. We love talking with you guys.
And we support the podcast, and we hope you do. You can do that in one of two ways. One is to give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, good rating, whatever it is, wherever you're listening. We appreciate it all the same. Let us know if you give us a good review somewhere, because we are not on all the platforms, and we love that validation.
Yeah.
The other way you can help validate us and support us is through Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes, as well as mini episodes, audiobooks, early access to Let's Plays, which I will be catching up on for all of our Let's Plays. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
That's right. We've been so busy, I almost forgot that
Let's Plays were a thing.
We have to post more Laura Idukin as well, right?
Laura Idukin, Lorik for Skyrim, and my Firmament Let's Play only has 1 episode released, even though I've recorded 3. And I haven't finished a game yet. I'm working on that, too. So there's just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. We're trying to do a lot of recordings. The summer gets busy for us.
Yes.
And we got busy earlier than usual because of the vacation we took on the holiday.
Yeah.
So we apologize. We're working on it.
So episode 88, we are going way back. Cast your mind back to an earlier episode, December 2020.
Wow. So we had very little sleep. Oh yeah. Gosh, that's literally 2 jobs ago for me too.
Yeah.
Holy.
And this is a part 1 of a 2-part coverage episode. I don't know how to say it, but yeah.
So you're doing something. Wait, December 2020. I'm trying to think. So it's one of our first.
This is going back to episode 24.
I was right. 24.
You want us to tell you? Because you already know this game, obviously.
I know. I know it has to be. It's after Dear Esther, but after that, like my memory of it is a blur of what's going on.
We are diving back into No Man's Sky.
Oh man, we did promise we were going to come back to it. Well, and so that was episode 24. So if you want to get a good background of, we covered the races there.
We covered the ancient history of No Man's Sky.
And the ancient history, yes.
Yeah, back then I said, quote, "The story of No Man's Sky is not why we're here. They are always adding to it." And I think that is still true to a degree, but the main story is pretty solidly established now, so I think it's time we covered it.
Okay, so we're officially doing the story itself.
And I love that. So we're doing 2 parts for it. Partially it's because, full disclosure, the wiki is kind of wonky. So diving into individual character discussions or motivations or even events as they happen is a little bit hard to tease out.
Right.
So it's a little mind-numbing to watch hours of people flying or do hours of people flying for 10 seconds of dialogue.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not all of it is speaking dialogue, right?
And I have done this. I have beaten this game. Like, okay, insofar as you can beat No Man's Sky. I have gotten through what we will be covering entirely.
You finished story mode, essentially.
Yes.
But there is always endless mode in No Man's Sky.
Well, there's always stuff to do.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, so in The Sims 4, they tried out they had a little expansion pack called Strangerville, where they had a new neighborhood that actually had a story that you could complete. But once you complete the story, you can still play in the neighborhood and deal with all the crazy stuff and figure things out on your own. But at the same time,
yeah, it's a bit weird because people play No Man's Sky without. There is a story.
Yes.
You never have to even approach it. You know,
there's a lot of
beyond the opening tutorial part, you never have to touch the story.
But there's a lot of games that we particularly like. We like that sandbox grittiness.
Yes.
We like Skyrim. We like our Fallouts and our... I'm trying to think of...
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. we like our current iteration of Legend of Zelda. We like... I'm trying to think of what else is like that. We like their little sandbox where, yes, there is a story that you can land on if you want, but there's so many other things that you can do as well.
Yeah.
I tend to usually still follow the story, and Mystic then proceeds to be like, I got all this other stuff, and I'm like, okay, great. Did you get this key item from the main quest? What are you talking about? Like, that's literally been our experience the last, like,
with
3
Tears
weeks.
of the Kingdom
with
so
Tears
far.
of the Kingdom, yeah. I have to say, it's been really funny. We can't watch each other play because we play so differently. We spoil stuff for each other.
It was kind of great when I was playing. Not to spoil, but there was a moment where it's like new main quest, and literally at the end of the discussion, it goes completed.
Yeah, because you already stumbled.
Because I already stumbled across that just
yeah.
exploring. Yeah. To reiterate the basics, No Man's Sky is a 2016 game by Hello Games, a UK-based developer who got a bit in over their heads in terms of dreaming big and promising big. And while they eventually delivered
almost all their promises,
their initial release was, shall we say, underwhelming.
What I think, so Internet Historian.
Yes, literally my next line is, now why they got in over their head and the whole debacle is wonderfully covered by the Internet Historian in their video, The Ungoodening of No Man's Sky.
Which, you found the right one because the picture before you play says, yes, woman's land, because that's just the kind of trite humor he likes. And he covers strange internet stuff, and No Man's Sky is one of the few videos that's about a triumph. Because this is also a guy who covers things like the guy who got stuck in a coal mine for weeks at a time, and the attempted rescue, Fire Festival, So this is a great video if you just want to hear about a great success.
So we have a few races: the Travelers, which are players and other unique NPCs; the Gek, which are kind of like amphibian-looking dudes; the Korvax, which are machine robotic-looking dudes;
yes,
and the Vy'keen, which are big brutish-looking dudes. And I'm using the term "dude" there non-gendered because we don't know if any of these races really have genders as we tend to think of them, binary or non-binary. We don't really know.
We don't know the spectrum of gendertude.
Yeah. And the non-sentient Sentinels. Now, the Sentinels, we've discussed all these in depth in episode 24. Please check that out. Mm-hmm. No Man's Sky, as stated previously, is an interesting game to untangle, as a result of its development history, release history, and procedural nature, the storyline was released in a strange way.
Yeah, and imagine in iterations then.
Yes. Also, there's relatively more telling, not showing in the storyline. So sometimes when I say we see or something like that, we're told what we see. We don't always have like visual stuff.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Just something to keep in mind as we go. Yeah. At one point, there was only the Atlas Path, which, to my understanding, was later evolved on and interwoven with a new storyline called the Artemis Path. Both of these work together, but depending on when you played, the storyline could be very, very different.
Okay.
This information, of course, can also be outdated in the future. They may change or add more things to the plot. It's continuing to change. They have added things like derelict freighters and stuff to explore, and they're constantly adding new gameplay systems. They've added settlements which weren't there when I played. Like, I haven't played since settlements were added. So,
wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff being added on that may increase the amount of lore available.
So this is true as of the recording of this podcast.
This is true for the main quest as of the recording of this podcast. Even in the main quest, there's a part where it's like, go do settlements. We're not touching that. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of secondary missions that come up that we're not touching. We're really not touching Atlas Path either, because Atlas Path is kind of... You kind of hit all of its story nights through the Artemis Path, even though it's technically a second storyline.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little weird.
It's probably just was easier for them to develop, because also the team developing No Man's Sky stayed a pretty small team.
Yeah, I think they're less than 20.
Yeah, there are not a lot of them working on this, so...
As we're recording, it starts with the quest, and we're going to do quest titles as well. It starts with the quest Awakenings, which, fitting enough, begins with us awaking on an alien planet.
So this is pretty much the tutorial part.
Yes. Our suit is a wreck but can do its basic functions. We have no ship around, and we're likely in an environment that is incompatible with our continued existence.
Yeah, typically that's been our experience with that.
Yep. We scavenge and explore until finally we get a signal from a ship. Getting there, we get a weird message involving the number 16. I'm not going to go every single line, but 16 is a continuing thing. Just be aware that it is.
Okay.
As for the ship, it seemingly reacts to our character almost like it's ours, though we ourselves have no memory of it. We have to do some repairs, so we fix it up, and now we have launch thrusters, and boom, out into space we go.
Whee!
Yep. Just to get a strange signal from a neighboring planet, so we head there. There's going to be a lot of this type of stuff happening.
Yeah, and a lot of assumptions that you as the player do head towards the weird signal, because it's a lot of choice.
At any point, like, as soon as you get up into space, you could be like, bye, and just never touch this again. You'll be at a disadvantage, but it is your choice.
It is your choice to play it unnecessarily hard.
A lot of this stuff is tutorial, as you mentioned. Learning to manipulate the terrain of worlds, learning to make bases and such. There's also a secondary missions like establishing settlements that we're going to pretty much ignore.
Okay.
Except it's when we're building up our base and learning mechanics that the computer's next batch of archives will be interrupted by yet another mysterious message involving the number 16. We must travel to the Star System space station and ask a few life forms about this message. Most will act shocked and confused and then shun us away, locking us out of further useful conversation forever.
And that's merely by the mention of the word 16?
That's mention of, like, talking about this signal, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Once we have found someone who will talk to us, their dialogue will be interrupted by the same mysterious message, which will then give us some encoded coordinates.
Oh, weird.
Decoding those coordinates will lead us to a crashed freighter and the means to make a hyperdrive. We leave our current system and are immediately drained of all warp fuel and another anomalous signal to follow. This time it leads us to a monolith. Now, monoliths give us a lore-based question with a bunch of proposed answers.
Okay.
This is where we got a lot of our history in episode 24, piecing together all these lore-based questions.
Right.
As fact. If we select the right response, we can get all sorts of fun things. Words in the local language, blueprints, upgrades, rare items. The first time, though, we'll get more fuel for the warp drive. Fair enough. Guided experience.
That's what we want, especially if you're somebody who likes to play an exploring game.
After our next warp jump, we'll get a new message. A voice speaks to us. But it's almost like we're listening in on another call. You ever get that happening?
Oh my gosh. I literally I had to do a national, I should say statewide telephoning temporary programs in my last job. And there was one time where, I forget which state it was, but their phone system was so bad. There were 4 conversations going on at once we connected. And literally everybody was like, I think I hear something. And I was like, I'm just going to hang up the phone now.
I'm going to hang up and try again.
Hang up and try again. Yeah.
This, when we're listening on the other call, is the beginning of the quest Alone Amidst the Stars. The message suddenly cuts off, and we get another set of coordinates. You're going to have a theme here.
How many coordinates am I going to get?
Yes.
All of the coordinates.
This time we arrive at a crashed ship, not too dissimilar from our own, actually. In fact, it may be the same look and everything.
Wow.
There's a distress beacon here which will give us the frequency to contact Artemis, the supposed owner of the craft in question.
Huh.
As we leave the planet, we will receive an incoming transmission from a Korvax life form which goes by the name Priest Entity Nada. Once the conversation ends, this space anomaly will appear in front of our starship. The space anomaly is, well, anomalous. It can be anywhere, almost, well, not actually anywhere, almost anywhere, because it can't be like in a planet's atmosphere.
Oh, wow.
In any reality, and we can kind of summon it at will.
What? At will?
This is kind of a point where the multiplayer kind of bridges the storyline a little bit, because this is where you can meet people very freely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We must investigate the mysterious station and complete the objectives of its mission for a time before we continue with Artemis. Now, we won't be touching them a lot in the early parts of this story, but the two main people on the space anomaly are Priest Entity Nada, which makes sense, we already talked to them. Mm-hmm. They are a Korvax, and Specialist Polo, a Gek.
Okay.
As we continue the story, they will have feedback on the greater view of what we're doing and eventually become more major players. But for now, just know that they are there, helping us with our missions and providing context.
Okay.
We won't touch on them too much simply because we have a lot of back and forth and dialogue, and I don't want to confuse it all too much.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is going to be extra long episode coming up.
When we do get to continue the story of Artemis will in fact contact us. The transmission is staticky and intermittent. Words are frequently replaced with
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, of course, none of them are actually voiced, so...
That's right. There wasn't a lot of voice acting for this whatsoever.
Yeah. The one thing we can tell is that Artemis is in danger, and we need to boost this signal. So we have to find a hollow terminus, which is basically an advanced communication array. They're basically tall structures that...
Right.
Yeah. When we do find one, Artemis is unsure if we are real or a dream.
Or dream?
Or a dream. Basically, like, they've been alone for so long that they're imagining stuff.
They might, or hallucinating, okay.
Yeah. I believe one of the lines is, I ripped out my exosuit speaker because it was saying terrible things, just like...
Oh, wow. Yeah,
severe isolation.
That's paranoid delusion right there.
When we ask them who they are, they don't tell us. Rather, they share with us a vision or dream. We're not quite sure. One of a crimson star and a fragile world. We see life forms all over the galaxy. We see Artemis's first breath and see ourselves slumbering in a crimson void. Then this is all interrupted by anomaly detected.
Oh, gosh.
Artemis says that they are like us, a traveler, a discoverer of worlds. They also tell us that they are in a sunless system. Only the distant stars provide any light.
Wow.
During the resulting conversation, we will need to upload our data. And once our data is transmitted, Artemis will ask us to triangulate our position. We said about doing this with some signal boosters. You know, busy work, busy work, busy work. Eventually, we're able to contact Artemis again at another hollow terminus, and there they come up with an idea. They transmit to us a chart of the stars near them and ask us to compare it to the stars around us in hopes that we can meet.
Right. That makes sense.
The best place to find answers to all of that is the aliens who live here.
Right.
You know, to that end, Artemis will give us a blueprint for a technology called Artemis Translator to help us understand the aliens around here. And after we calibrate it by finding some ruins and do some favors for the locals so that they'll actually talk to us, we get some strange news.
I remember very early on in the game that there was this idea that you had to work very hard to gain words in the native languages.
Artemis's star chart is impossible. It does not exist anywhere.
Oh, but you still have to go through the exercise to try. Yikes. Okay.
When we next talk to Artemis, this time the transmission is not good, and things go a bit off the rails. Artemis says they found glyphs for a portal, and we're trying to use the portal to meet other travelers and explore the universe and just meet someone else like them.
Right.
And the portal collapsed while they were still inside, and they found this sunless planet in the void. Artemis then tells us that they are surrounded by creatures with shards of glass in their skin. Then the transmission cuts out, leaving us with something new, a lingering detail, the name Apollo, and a frequency.
So we're like Artemis and Apollo. So we're referencing Greek.
Yes.
Yeah. Those two are, if you did not realize, brother and sister.
Yeah. So Safi is smarter than me in that I did not pick up on this at all until I was researching this.
No, Artemis, first of all, Artemis is a name I've always liked. I always liked the goddess Artemis. She's a very independent hunter spirit. And then Apollo is just usually just kind of cheeky fast dude. It's pretty cool.
We now begin the quest Ghosts in the Machine. Back at the holoterminus, we plug in the frequency for Apollo. Apollo is initially uninterested in talking to us and seems kind of a bit money obsessed. But when made aware of Artemis's disappearance, they are more cautious, as Apollo wants to know what is the deal with the Sentinels, and if the Sentinels use the portal network as they seemingly pop into existence from thin air. You can see how this is kind of related. Artemis was in a portal and So, to do that research, Apollo wants us to go on the hunt for Sentinels and will give us a personal force field upgrade to help with that. Now, to actually get that upgrade, we have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Upgrade our base, hire some researchers, do a bunch of busy work, and we're going to gloss all of that over.
Busy work is not plot.
Then we get the upgrade and hop back into space to contact Apollo. But before we get the chance, we are contacted by an unknown signal.
How many... Okay, unknown signals, coordinates given. This is just the pattern I have to accept when you're traveling in space.
Yes. The unknown signal, which we will call null, tells us that we are not alone. That they know us, where we've been, what we've been doing. Before we can ask any real questions, though, the transmission ends with the phrase, "You will find us when the time is right."
That's a lot of trust I need to put in some strangers.
Apollo will then contact us, and it's time to go on the offensive and attack. And the target is a Korvax mining facility. Attacking that will force the Sentinels to appear, and Apollo can get some data.
Woohoo!
Apollo also seems a bit, racist, for lack of a better term. They are putting us up to attacking a Korvax mining facility purely because the Korvax and the Sentinels are both robotic life forms.
Oh.
Yeah. I should note,
yeah.
Apollo is not a robotic life form, but they are in a robotic body now, a point they kind of brush off.
They're a cyborg, essentially.
Yeah. Brain and a couple other bits are backed up into a robot body, and that,
Just a totally normal thing that you don't have to explain at all. Sure.
None of the travelers are, quote, normal, end quote, in this.
Oh, so that's typical traveler stuff. Okay.
Yeah. We'll meet one later that is... They're all humanoid in that they have 2 arms, 2 legs. Beyond that, it's
kind of like you cannot survive the process of being a traveler, whatever that entails, intact.
I think there's 22 different heads that travelers can have, and those are not like, playing Fallout and swapping skin tones. This is like drastically different
head shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be only 3, if I remember, right?
No, the travelers have always had quite a few. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like...
You have to unlock them, I think.
Oh, that's probably what it is. So I think you start with... I think you start with 3.
Yeah.
And then,
After breaking into the Korvax mining facility, which was also the home for some Korvax, though they have left here some time ago, we do find a small, furry creature there. This is a weird plot point, because I'm not sure what it has to do with anything. Literally, you have a decision to make. You find, this small furry creature that's a pet that the Korvax had.
Oh.
It's clear, your scanner literally says it is going to die no matter what you do. And you're given the choice of feeding it, costing you some resources, euthanizing it, or leaving it alone. And I don't know what difference it makes in the actual plot. You know?
Weird. I would still feed it because poor little creature comforts.
Right. And all of that is in text. There's no visual. It's all just like you find a small creature.
Weird.
Yeah. It's weird to play a game that's advanced as No Man's Sky and also have like this text-based story.
Yeah, because that's very much like, so the last game we did was
Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity, which was also very much text-focused.
Yeah.
Even with the real voice acting added, you still needed to read most of the text on your own.
And, you know, we've covered games that were text-based before. Mm-hmm. We've just never played any of the actual text-based ones, like Zork. Zork was definitely text-based. We just weren't going to make our
That's
stream,
not a
our
live
stream
stream
viewers,
that most people want. I'm sure there's a niche for it, but that's, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. We're going to play something that's more fun for us. That's just how we do.
Yeah, but it's weird to just have like this high-end production value.
Yes.
And no voice acting I'm okay with. Mm-hmm. But maybe a 2D picture at least? I don't know.
Yeah, you would hope so. That's true. They did have that in Pillars of Eternity. There were a couple of 2D pictures to flavor up your...
Yeah. Let me know what the small creature looks like, but I don't know.
I'm just assuming it's a tribble at this point.
Possibly.
It might as well be at this point.
Anyway, upon leaving the facility, we will be slapped with a 3-star wanted level, which ranges from 0 to 5.
Well, we did attack probably a Peaceful Society's mining facility. Come the heck on.
Funnily enough, I don't know if that itself actually matters, the fact that it was a Korvax facility or anything. I think it's the fact that we just damaged something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know.
So, Sentinels are on their way. Now, fighting Sentinels is not preferable. Usually, it's better to just take cover and get away from them, because after some time, the wanted level will slowly decrease, and they'll eventually go passive. When we return to space, which, little gameplay tip here, if you have a wanted level...
Yeah.
And you go to space...
Yeah.
Say you have a wanted level of 3. Mm-hmm. You go to space, you have a space wanted level of 1 now.
Oh, really?
And going back down, you still have a wanted level. Like, you can't get rid of it. And space wanted levels are harder.
Really?
At least in my opinion.
Huh. So if you travel with a wanted level, you get at least a space wanted level.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And space, like, obviously with each wanted level, as you would expect from games like GTA, which we've never covered, but you've played it, or know of it at least.
Yes.
The higher wanted level, the more crazy stuff is coming after you.
Yeah, to the point of tank, yes.
Yeah. In this game, I think level 5 on the ground, you get walkers, like these giant kind of AT-AT looking things from Star Wars. In space, you'll get carriers, like Sentinel
carriers. Has arrived.
Yeah.
It also makes me think of Cowboy Bebop, just because I would think there'd be a bounty system for something like that.
So there are bounties in the game.
Yeah.
And when you're flying around, you'll get updates being like criminal or whatever in system, and it'll have like it marked up, and they range from like 1 to 5 stars.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So when we return to space after dealing with the Sentinel threat, we will officially start the quest A Leap in the Dark.
Okay.
Apollo will say that the planet lit up with signal flares spreading from monolith to monolith, and that we will need to investigate them. Basically when the Sentinels woke up and started looking for us, everything lit up as far as Apollo's concerned.
Yeah. And
when we finally do get to each of these monoliths, we get a little bit of a story. So we're going to do those in order.
Okay.
Yeah. First one is The Traveler, Arrival. The traveler awoke beneath the shadow of a red star. Through the lonely cosmos they fled, yearning for purpose and meaning.
Huh.
They found an anomaly, an aberration, a door to the heavens. No Gek, no Vy'keen, no Korvax could see it. Only the traveler could perceive the portal, though they did not know how to step through. They did not know the secret language, the glyphs. They did not yet grasp the price of the final truth. Then we'll get the option to accept or refuse glyphs. We're going to accept them. Our mind is filled with the knowledge of the ancient traveler, and we see glyphs part of a code. When we approach the next monolith, we'll get more story. The traveler. Sin. The traveler found a way. They always did. The first drone screamed when it was cut open.
Whoa.
Within the shattered memories of sentinels, the traveler found the glyphs they needed. They passed through the gateway, emerging before the face of omnipotence. The traveler asked the Atlas how many worlds were left to visit. They had seen so many in their life. They did not wish to die before they saw them all. The Atlas answered, 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709,551,616 planets. More than could be seen in any lifetime. It was impossible to explore the universe before the traveler died. It should be noted here, first off, I am so grateful that there is a decimal to text
Yes.
translator online. It should be noted here that this is an accurate number of planets in No Man's Sky.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow,
It
that's
is
a lot.
16 to the power of 16.
Hence the signal 16.
And if we visited each one for 1 second with no travel time in between,
Yeah.
it would still take over 500 billion Earth years.
So we're never going to do it. It's never going to be possible.
We seek out the final monument and get the final piece of the story. The Traveler. A purpose. The Atlas told the Traveler that they were the first of their kind, that a multitude would follow. Each would be endowed with the same noble soul, each able to travel from planet to planet in eternal solitude.
Whoa.
The first traveler rejected the gift of the Atlas. This was not what they hoped for. What was the purpose of infinity if you could not see it all? If you were alone? If you would one day die? The first traveler cursed the Atlas and claimed that they would find a way to survive no matter the cost. All of these words, all of time itself, it will be for the travelers to witness. Then we get the final glyphs. When we get to the portal, we input the glyphs. Portal starts spinning. It's kind of Stargate-y.
Okay, cool.
Including like the like splash thing.
Oh man, I barely remember that because we've only watched a few episodes
Yeah.
of the first season. Yeah.
And we will walk through. We will find ourselves at the portal of an exotic planet. And we'll have an opportunity to wander around briefly before everything starts shaking.
Uh-oh,
And we
earthquake.
have a warning that says 16, 16, 16. Atlas protocol initiated. 16,
Whoa.
16, 16.
Okay.
And our surroundings turn to white, and we are teleported to an Atlas interface.
What's that look like?
So there is a giant red ball thing. It's kind of hard to describe because it's kind of faceted too.
Oh, is this the normal, picture we see
Yes.
with the No Man's Sky stuff? Okay.
Floating in the air in what seems to be a sterile black and red room with ship landing pads, but no ships.
Huh.
There's an interface terminal here before the Atlas. We have a bit of a conversation which starts with "Hello world."
Okay. Isn't that isn't it like some coding language always starts with that?
Yes, that's the first thing people learn when they code usually is "Hello world."
Okay.
It tells us we were once travelers. We once aspired to more than dirt and dust. And then, show me a world, Atlas. Show me something no one has ever seen before. Honestly, doesn't tell us much. We'll have the option of performing a diagnostic on the Atlas or wiping the system.
Okay.
Though we must commit to one choice or the other, both choices will teleport us to a distant planet and place our ship some distance away. When we eventually get to our ship and take off, we will get a distress signal. Following it, we get to an old traveler grave marker for Artemis.
So Artemis is supposed to be dead.
What we get when we get to the grave marker is a recorded message. There's no real response like previously, though the signal matches every single communication we have had with Artemis, as if every conversation was with this hologram, and yet not. The few things we can get is that Artemis knows of Polo and Nada, and tells us not to trust something, but there's a lot of missing parts to the message. It's been around for so long, it's kind of corrupted.
That makes sense. So it gets weary with age.
We end at the grave marker with, "My friend is dead. Perhaps they were never alive," and a certainty that we must tell Apollo what we have discovered. We begin the first traveler. Heading to a holoterminus to contact Apollo, we are beset by errors and warnings and no way to contact Apollo or Artemis's frequencies at all.
Oh, wow.
When we perform a manual override, the warnings all cease, leaving us with a new frequency to contact.
Oh.
Dialing in, we are greeted by Null, with the first real question being, what is the point in living if we know life will finish?
Wait, Null as in like the first question from Null as in a voice we hear, a person we see?
So Null is the name that our ship gave to that unknown signal, which is why we're continuing to use it.
Okay, because for a moment I wasn't sure if that was a person or a random voice, but the signal is what's communicating to us right now.
No, now we're actually talking to Null through the holoterminus so we can actually see them. Before they were just a signal. They were just a voice. Now we can actually talk to them.
Okay, so we've materialized what is sending the signal?
Yes. And
okay.
Yeah, Null is a little different than the other ones in that there's a lot of more floaty bits to them than the other ones.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. Null suggests a way Artemis could be saved, eventually saying, "The blood of Artemis is data, the heart a glitch. I can help you retrieve them both."
Huh. The blood is data, the heart's a glitch. That's an interesting metaphor there.
Right. Null wants us to create a mind arc to hold Artemis's soul. Null then leaves, and we can contact Artemis, who keeps asking us, "Are you," with static covering the last word. There is no response from Artemis at all to any questions. Basically, it's on repeat.
Right, but we kind of technically know that Artemis is dead.
Eventually, we can build the mind arc. This basically takes a while.
Fetch quests?
More like, do you have the resources? Because you can kind of have him already and just do it.
Oh, but if not, it becomes a fetch quest.
Yeah. And this time, when we have the mind arc, when we talk to Artemis, there's a bit more information. They seemingly are a bit wonky in terms of time, saying that they were waiting for us and how long it's been, and remembering that we were going to find their star chart.
Oh, yeah.
However, soon they are asking us who we are again, as if our conversation never happened. Almost like Alzheimer's or some debilitating condition like that.
We were just talking about somebody we knew today that has that too. Yeah. So it's like, this is even extra heartbreaking. Man.
Since Artemis is dead, we're talking to an echo. Makes sense that it's destabilized.
Right.
When we do eventually use the mind arc on this echo, Artemis simply disappears from the holoterminus.
Wow.
Null beckons to us because Null is still an active stream. So they tell us that travelers are a dream, an idea that we have some special place in the universe, and how we and Artemis and Apollo and even Null have all had that dream. None of us want to be alone, but the closer we get to others, the more we risk hurting ourselves or hurting them. The deepest secret of the universe is the final act. the decision to abandon those who need you. It is the primal sin and the foundation of existence. So, interestingly...
What?
Yeah.
That's so what?
No Man's Sky doesn't have good and evil.
Right.
You know? Null is probably about as close as we get to an antagonist, even though they're not actively against us.
Huh.
It's more like ideologically antagonistic.
So they're just judging you from the corner of space that they happen to be watching you from.
A little bit. We'll get more into it next episode.
Judgy McJudgerson, come on.
We'll get more into it next episode. To help Artemis now, Null says we have to travel to our friends, meaning Priest Entity Nada and Specialist Polo. When we arrive, Nada tells us that the Ark is no rescue. There is no way to make this Echo have a physical body again. They can never explore again.
Well, I mean, it's not even truly fully who Artemis was at this point.
Right. However, there is something we can do. Nada has a refuge of sorts, and we are given a choice to upload Artemis's Echo to this refuge, a simulated universe that they may live on, or to help Artemis finally end their suffering.
Oh.
The simulation is totally isolated, though. Artemis would never be able to explore and live and would find joy for sure in the exploration, but there would be no other intelligent beings there, no other travelers, no kindred spirits.
Which is obviously something important to Artemis to reach out to.
And should Artemis ever learn the truth, it would be bad.
Devastating, even. It would feel more like a prison.
Yeah. Whatever we choose will not greatly derail the main plot, but it will change a ton of character dialogue.
Wow. Wow. Well, I have to ask, Mystic, when you first got to this point in a playthrough, if you have, though.
I have.
Okay.
I have gotten well past this. I've gotten to the end of the story and then made a choice that for gameplay reasons, I would not make again. For storyline reasons, I thought I still made a good choice. There's no bad choice either.
Okay. So for this one, whether to put her in essentially that simulated universe or to let her essentially just die, what did you choose?
I have put Artemis in the simulation.
Oh, okay.
And we'll touch more on that next episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to end it here before we touch back with Apollo and tell them what we've done.
And hear his scrutiny of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then we get more into the mythology and everything. So we will touch more on that next episode.
So already a couple philosophical issues that have come up that we have to try to navigate.
Yeah, and I'm brushing over a lot of stuff. Polo and Nada bring up a lot of philosophical stuff, especially when it comes to their individual look at on things.
Okay.
Their story is very different than what you might suspect either. So
Oh, okay.
we will touch on all of that next time.
Well, I guess everybody was hoping for a No Man's Sky June. 'Cause that's what we're doing. Oh, man. It was funny because Mystic was coming like, oh, man, this is too much. I can't do this all in one episode. It was like, whatever works for you, just do what you got to do.
To kind of couch that, we are a little bit time limited when we record some days because little buddy's a toddler.
We're parents.
Yeah.
Little buddy's the kind of
So
toddler that wants us when he's going to bed.
It's not, could I not cover this whole thing in a hour and a half, 2 hour episode? Totally could.
But we also haven't done an episode that long in years, let's be honest.
Right.
And I've been the one that's been guilty of that, and I've tried to stay away from that because I don't have the time anymore, and two, that's not what we've done. We've always we try to keep it in a pretty digestible chunk.
It's been a while since we've done a 2-parter on one game, In fact, I don't think we've ever done a two-parter on one game. We've done a two-parter on one book.
We did a two-parter on... I thought we started with a two-parter. Am I forgetting? Did we do a two-parter on Myst?
Yeah, our first couple episodes were 2 and 4-parters, but that's also starting and learning how it all...
A 4-parter for something in the Elder Scrolls universe makes sense.
Yeah.
There is Written in Uncertainty, which is basically the whole series.
I believe we did a 2-parter on something in Fallout, Nuka-Cola, I think.
Yeah, we did a 2-parter on Nuka-Cola, the history of Nuka-Cola before and after the bombs drop.
And then we did a 2-parter... Well, no, that wasn't a 2-parter on one game. That was a 2-parter covering all of Just Cause.
Yes, all of 4
which was great,
games. Yeah.
But also one of our least listened to episodes.
Okay... Well, I think it's because the first episode does not help sell the second episode, which is the more interesting episode. When we get the margaritas out in the back of the boat, yes, that is...
Well, that was the second game.
That was the second game?
That was the second game, but that was the end of the second game. So.
Yeah, the first episode...
But we had no story we had no real story in the first and second as much. Third and fourth is where the story really starts.
It gets meatier, definitely. There's a story, but it doesn't have the same level of depth. But... yeah, so we don't do a lot of 2-parters. We haven't in a while. So,
I don't know. Is great. I may have to soon because we're going to have that Mortal Kombat 1 coming out soon.
Mortal Kombat!
And so I'd have to cover like a huge chunk of timeline just to preface for that one. So.
Right. No, I get it. Well, I'm happy to come back to the 2-parter episode. And No Man's Sky is just a great place to do it.
This will also benefit us in terms of the stream because now you can actually get somewhere than just a tutorial.
Right. So speaking of stream, so for those of you who are listening on the Patreon, hopefully you hear this in time to remember to join us on Thursday when we do our continuation. Tacoma. Which...
Not continuation. Oh, no, we are continuing. You're continuing your playthrough from...
I guess I am, but I'll need you to tell me what to do. And then, so we did our first hour playthrough of Tacoma, but we're gonna finish out the game before we head to the first Mass Effect.
Yes.
And then, for the Thursday after this releases to the public, we will be doing the first hour of No Man's Sky again, which we've done it before.
We can continue that one.
Oh.
Rather than play through the tutorial again.
My worry is just because Mystic's computer has a lot of game saves as well as his own work, so sometimes save files get a little fraught.
That being said, that stream, episode 24, was before non-patrons had access.
Right.
So we may want to do that anyway.
Let's just start it all over again, guys. And that way all of you can join us because we're much more equitable with the live streams. It's the Let's Plays that we're all secretive about now.
Either way, thank you for listening.
Thanks so much for listening, guys.
We'll catch you next time for more No Man's Sky.
Oh, man.
Maybe after that, Safi will do an episode again for the first time in a while.
No.
Okay, I'll do an episode.
Okay. Catch you guys later.
Bye.